Before we work on chat, let's make some minor changes. In add card, I wrote it as relative, but bootstrap class for relative is position-relative. And same in add file here. Alright, so now let's work on chat. So here I'll create a function. I'll call it create chat room. And now here const create chat room async. So here when user click on chat with seller, I would like to create a document in messages collection in Firestore. So let's do that. Await set doc. It will be from Firestore. It will take doc and collection name messages. We don't have one, but set doc will create it, and then ID. So this ID is not going to be simple. It will be a combination of logged in user ID, who will be buyer, and seller ID, and also add ID. Let's say if we only create this document with add ID, so what will happen when buyer will send message to seller? We will display an image and add title here on left side, and on right side we will show the messages. So for example, I am a buyer and I sent a message to seller. So here seller will see my image, profile photo, um, and add title. And let's say another user also sent the message to the seller for the same product. So what will happen? It will overwrite my message, and I would like to keep it separate, uh, buyer by buyer. So that's why we can't use only add ID. And what if we use combination of seller ID and buyer ID? So here seller will see buyer's profile photo and his name, and here on the right side we will display the messages. Suppose buyer is inquiring about ABC product and the seller has another product, and buyer would like to inquire about that as well. So messages for both products will be under one chat, which will become confusing. That's why our ID will be a combination of add ID, buyer ID, and seller ID. So let's do that now. First of all, let's get logged in user. Logged in user, and it will be auth.currentuser.uid. Now for ID, here we will compare logged in user is greater than add.postedBy, and we have access to add here. In that case, we will format ID as logged in user and then dot add dot posted by and dot and finally add dot id. Otherwise it will be add dot posted by, then logged in user, and finally add dot id. Our document ID will be this ID. There is some problem here. Oh, it shouldn't be in template literal, so it will end here and next one will start from here. So the way this comparison will work, let's say let A equals to SBH, let B equals to something else, and now A is greater than B. It will always be true, so our ID will never change, and that way we will be able to store all the messages related to specific chat under one ID. And actually this syntax is wrong. Await set doc first argument will be Firestore instance, messages, then ID. And here we will specify the fields. So add, which will be add ID, and users, which will be an array, consists of buyer and seller. So logged in user, add dot posted by. Then we will navigate the buyer to the chat room. We already have used navigate here. Navigate /chat, we will create it, and this navigate also provides us some options. One of them is state, and here we will send the add along with this request. Because at first there will be no history for buyer here to select, so that's why we are sending this add to start the conversation. And if it's confusing, then don't worry, you will understand it when we will work on this chat route. So let's create this route now. Here in pages, chat, and also in navbar, let's add this route. Let me add it before profile, chat, /chat. And now in app.js, import chat from pages /chat, and it will be a protected route. So /chat and element chat. Right now we don't have messages collection, so now let's do it. Click chat with seller. Okay, looks like there is an error. Set doc called with invalid data. Okay, this add ID is undefined. Yeah, it's correct. If you take a look at our add collection, in this document we don't have any ID field. In this file we are grabbing it from params. However, it will throw error because we also name it as ID and it is referencing this one. So let's call it chat ID, and also there is no add ID here, so let's call it ID, and also it needs to be chat ID. So chat ID. So here is add ID, also here, and this one is chat ID, which is a combination of login user, seller, and add ID. So let's try it now. Chat with seller, redirect it to chat page. And now if you take a look at Firestore, there is messages collection with this long ID, and here are fields, the add ID and both users. Alright, so at this point, when we navigated to this page from add page, from this page when we click on this button, we already have access to add because we send it in state here. We also need information about buyer and seller. So in use effect we will make those requests. Use effect and const get chat async, and we will receive add in params, and here we will get buyer and seller info and will set the result in state. So const buyer equals to await get doc from Firestore, also doc from Firestore, db from our Firebase config file, collection name messages, no collection name users, and the buyer is currently logged in user. So auth dot current user dot uid, and we need to import auth from Firebase config file. And now seller will be add dot posted by. We have access to add, and in add we have a field posted by. Now let's create a state. Use state const chat set chat use state, and here set chat we will store add buyer and seller in the state add, and I will call buyer me, buyer dot data, and seller and other seller dot data. So in this function me will always be the buyer because this will only be executed from here, from this button, and only buyer has access to this button. Use effect, and here we will call get chat, but it will be conditional. In a state we have passed add in a state from add file, so we will check if there is add, then we will call this function because this function needs add. So let's import use location from React router DOM, and here we will check if location dot state question mark dot add. Then we will invoke this function and pass add to it. Location dot state dot add, because this function needs add and it will only be called by the buyer. Now let's console log chat. At first it was undefined, then use effect ran, and we have the data here. So it will be div with class row, because on left we will display chat history and on right we will display messages if any chat is selected. So call -2 on small screen, call MD4 on medium screen. That's for left side. And for right side, call -10 on small screen and call MD8 on medium screen. So here we will check if chat is not null, then we will display something. Otherwise we will display a div with class name text center and margin top 5. Inside it nh3, select a user to start conversation. Okay, so in case of chat is available, then div class name text center and margin top 1 and then h3, and here I would like to display the name of this seller. So chat dot other dot name. Here you can see this test is the seller in this case. So let's add a border on this section here and also underneath it. So here style border right 1 pixel solid and light gray, and same for this one, but it will be border bottom. In fact, let's add a custom class here on user section as well. Users container, and height, let's say 90 viewport height. I create the class dot. Yes, now the border is almost at the end. Okay, so here below the name we will display add information. First photo from add images and add title and price and maybe a link to the ad. So under this div with class padding 2, also let's add border bottom to this one as well, and then deflex align item center, and here image source will be chat dot add dot images, we will grab first one, URL, and for all chat dot add dot title. And remember, this chat object has add and there is images. Width 50 pixels, height 50 pixels, and then div h6 chat dot add dot title, and small tag chat dot add dot price, also link. So let's grab link from React router DOM, not here, after this div, link to, and it will be the link to the page, product page. So slash chat dot add dot category dot to lowercase slash chat dot add dot id, and let's give it some styles to make it button. And here view add. Now let's wrap this div and link inside another div, and it will be flex. Also flex grow 1 to keep all the available space, and margin from left. So this is how it looks. And in the next lesson we will work on sending message. Okay, so in components let's create message form, and in chat after this div message form. And now let's create a state text set text, also handle submit, and asynchronous function e.prevent default. Now we will pass the state and handle submit to message form component. Text set text and handle submit, and we will receive these here. And here I will add position relative to this one. and in message form, position absolute, bottom 0, start 0, end 0, and padding 2. These all are bootstrap classes. I would like to display the form field at the bottom. On submit, handle submit. So input with class form dash control. Let's also add placeholder. Value will be text, and on change set text e.target.value, and also let's add with 100%. So this is our form here at the bottom. Now I would like to store the messages inside a sub collection. So the main collection messages, then the ID, and inside here I would like to create a sub collection chat. Then add-doc function of Firestore will generate a unique ID, and inside that unique ID we will store the chat messages. So await add-doc, which will be from Firebase Firestore, collection again from Firebase Firestore, and these are imported here. It will take Firestore reference DB messages, and we need to provide ID, which will be the same as we used in add file, this one. So let's grab it and we will modify it. So logged in user, in fact here let's call it user1, which will be auth.currentuser.uid, and here we can replace auth.currentuser.uid with user1. And for user2, the ID will come from chat state chat.other.uid. So user1 is greater than user2, then we will display user1.user2.id, and it will be chat.add.id, and else user2.user1.add.id. Now we will pass ID here, and then the chat ID, and then the sub collection. I will call it chat, and here we will store our fields. So text, which will come from our state, sender, which will always be the currently logged in user. In our case it's user1, auth.currentuser.uid, and created at, let's import timestamp. Timestamp dot from date new date. When it's done, reset the form field. So set text empty string. So user 1 is currently logged in user and user 2 is coming from our chat state. Remember we have add, me and other in chat state. So user 2 is chat.other.uid and chat also has add, so here chat.add.id. Then we are adding data into Firestore with add doc function and we are storing the data inside a sub collection. So all the conversation for this ID will reside inside this sub collection. Then for every message there will be a unique ID created by this add doc function, and under this ID we will get these fields. So let's give it a try. Enter. Message field is reset. Okay, so if you can see at the end, add is still undefined, and that's because chat.add has no ID field. So let's add field in our add collection as well. Let's add this ID here as well. So when we are creating a new ad, after adding data into Firestore, await set doc db adds and this document result dot id, and we would like to set field id which will be result.id. But if we run this now, it will overwrite all these values. So we will provide there another option, merge true. Now this field will be appended after these fields. So for now I will add id manually to the existing ads. Let's copy it. In fact, let's call it add id, and here as well add id. And now I will repeat this for all the ads, and I will pause it here. Alright, so it's done. Okay, so now let's search ads here. Here now we don't need this because we have add id inside doc data. And here where we are using it, key add.id, it's add.add.id. And same for my favorites. Add.add.id. In profile, and also if you search add.id, this add card. Now we don't have add.id, it's add id. Add.add.id. And inside this toggle favorite as well. Okay, let's see if we have any problem anywhere. Alright, so where were we? Here, now it's chat.add.add id. And let's try it again. Delete this one, it's undefined. Chat with seller. Now let's see here. For the same id, we have add field, users, and now chat subcollection, auto generated id by add doc function, and there are the fields text, sender, and created ad. Now we will work on displaying the list of users on the left side, and the criteria will be this users array in messages collection. We will retrieve all the messages inside messages collection where users include currently logged in users, and we will do that here. So this is what we have done so far. Add info and then link to the ad. And actually it's showing undefined at the end. Looks like there is a problem. So link and yes, chat.add.id. We don't have add.id, it is add id. So in chat file, after this get chat function, we will create another function. I will call it getList because it will be list of all the users. Const getList async, and first of all we will create reference to messages collection, message ref collection db, and collection name messages. Next we will execute query imported from Firebase Firestore, and query will be message ref, and there will be a where clause imported from Firebase Firestore, where users array contains user1. So we will check currently logged in user is part of this users array or not. Const messages snap await get docs, and we will pass query. So in my favorites, this is how we retrieved ad from favorite collection where users include logged in user. We use the promise Now I'll show you another way, and this is the approach you should take whenever you have to work something like this, where inside for each you will have to make another Firebase request, Firebase Firestore request. So let's do that now. So const messages equals to messages snap dot doc, and then on docs we will run array map method dot map. We will get document and we will return doc. Inside doc there are so many fields, we will only return this data. Now this messages is this part. This is what we have to do now. We have add ID and users IDs. So we will make 3 requests inside for of loop to get the add information based on add ID and to get users information based on the IDs. So for const message of messages, let's create reference for ads and users document. Const add ref equals to doc db collection name ads and add ID, and we have access to add ID with this field add message dot add. Next reference for logged in users document. So me ref doc db users. So here we will check message dot users dot find id equals to user1, and it's message not messages for const message of messages. So we are checking whether this users array has the ID which is the currently logged in users ID, and for other user other ref ID not equals to user1. Now const add doc equals to await get doc, and we will pass add ref, and here me doc me ref and other doc, and we will pass other ref. Now let's create a local array. Const users equals to empty array, and after this get doc users dot push add, it will be add doc dot data. Let's add doc dot data me doc dot data, and finally other doc dot data. Now let's create a state. Const users set users use state empty array, and here after this for of loop set users, and we will pass this array. And in use effect, after this if block, get list. Now let's try to log these users. So which line was that? Line 72. We have array of one element. And what is this? 91. Okay, let me remove this log. So now inside this users container, users dot map user and index, and here we will display a separate component. Let's create it, user.js. User imported from components users. Key will be index, and user we will pass user. So this is the result. So here let's add a few classes. Deflex, align items center, margin vertical 2, padding 1. So first we will display profile photo for of other, not the currently logged in user. If you take a look at this array, add me and other. So if this other person has uploaded his profile photo, then we will display it here. So we have to receive user from chat file, and now let's render it if user exists, otherwise null. So if user dot photo URL, then we will display image and src user dot photo URL or user dot name. Width 50 pixels, height 50 pixels, border radius 50%. Otherwise we will display icon. So in add file we had used this icon, fa user circle. So after that h6 and here we will display user dot other dot name. So this is the person who initialized this chat, and below it let's also display add title. So user dot add dot title. So this is the title, and here let's add margin right 10 pixels, and here class name me2. So on a small screen I would like to display only this image section and hide this one. Now let's do that. Let's wrap it in a div. Class name d dash none, display none, and on medium screen and up d dash md dash inline block. So it's hidden. Now let's work on this placeholder icon. So justify content center, and on medium screen justify content md start. And here let's remove margin from here, and here as well. ms2. Okay, so next we will work on displaying the messages here when we click on any user here. Now we will work on displaying messages here. So when we click the user here, conversation history between logged in user and this user will be shown here. And also I have added this g-0, which is a bootstrap class for gutter 0, which takes away negative margin padding. And now we don't have horizontal scroll bar and vertical scroll bar, and as well as on small screen the image icon is in center. So let's do that now, and here I'll create a function select user. We will pass user to this function, and we will update our chat state with this user, set chat user. We will pass the select user function to this user component, and in user component we will receive it select user. So this div contains this section, so we will add on click to this div. On click, it will be an arrow function, and we will call select user here, and we will pass this user. and here let's add console log for chat. So right now chat is undefined because we have not selected any user. Let's do that now. Click, and now you can see this test user is selected now. And also let's add cursor pointer to this div. And if user is selected, then let's change the background color of the user, of the selected user. So for that we also have to pass chat state to this user component. And here let me add template literal here. So this is what we will be comparing. User. Now this user is part of this iteration. And when we select user, chat state has the user. This one. So here we will check if user.add.title equals to chat.add.title. So which means that we have selected the specific user, and now we will change its background. Let's add a class gray, otherwise nothing. So it's custom class, so let's add it. Dot gray, background color, and it will be light gray. Now user selected and its background is changed. So here we will retrieve the conversation between two users, and this time we will target this sub collection because conversation is inside this sub collection. So let's create messages ref, collection, and Firestore instance db, collection name messages, and then we need id. So let's do that now. Const id equals to user1 is greater than user2. So user2 will always be user. This user has an object other dot uid. Remember, there are three objects in this user: add, me, and other. So me will always be the correctly logged in user. So user.other.uid. In that case, user1 dot user2 dot user dot add id. Otherwise, user2.user1.user.add.id. So here this will be the ID, and then sub collection chat. So now we will execute query. We will pass messages ref and order by, which will be imported from Firebase Firestore. And here we will sort it by created at field, but in ascending order. So now we will trigger on snapshot listener. On snapshot, we will pass query, and it will give us query snapshot. Let's create a local array here because we will push data into it. And make sure to create this local data inside on snapshot and not outside, not here. Otherwise you will see duplicate record, because when you create this array before snapshot, it will hold initial state. So when we trigger on snapshot and push data to this array, it means we are adding data to the existing array. So you will see duplicate records. We have not encountered this problem so far because this is the only file where we are adding new message and also displaying at the same page. And now query snapshot dot for each doc, and let's create a state here. Messages, set messages, use state, empty array for now. And within for each we will push to this local array messages dot push doc dot data, and after for each set messages, and we will pass this messages array. Let's remove this log now. And here before form, let's create a div, and inside we will loop over messages state, messages dot map message. And now we will create a message component. Message, it's auto imported. And key, for key let's add index also. And we will pass message to this component. Now here we will receive this message. Paragraph, message dot text. If you take a look inside this sub collection, there is a field text. Also line break, then a small tag. And now we will import movement from React movement. Moment from now, and here message dot created at dot to date. So this is the message. So you see there is no duplication because we created this local messages array within on snapshot. Now let's move it out of on a snapshot and see what happens. Let me refresh. Press enter, and now you can see uh, both messages are duplicated. That's why we created this local array inside on snapshot. So if I click this and send message, now there is no duplication. Now let me log out from here and log in as seller. And let's reply to the buyer. I would like to display the login users messages on the right side. If you remember, there are three objects within our chat state: add, me, and other. So I would like to show the messages from me here. So let's do that now. Inside this message file, on this div, margin bottom 1, padding 1, and now here I will check message.sender equals to currently logged in user. We can get it from auth.currentuser.uid, or we also have access to it user1 in chat file. So let's pass user1 to message component. And here we will receive user1, and now we will compare message.sender equals to user1. Then we will apply bootstrap class text-end. No, not here, inside this curly braces, otherwise empty string. So here is a message from logged in user, and I would like to change the background of login user and other user messages. So let's do that now. Again, template literal. First of all, padding 2, and then message.sender equals to user1. Then I will apply bootstrap bg secondary and text white, otherwise our custom class gray, which we created here, this one. Okay, so now let's control the width of these messages. On paragraph, style, width 50%, display inline block, and border radius 5 pixels. No, actually it's not width, it's max width. Now it's fine. Okay, let's add a few more messages to see the scroll behavior. Now our form is out of the view, and this message is also partially in the view. and we have to scroll down. So let's fix it so that we will always be able to see the latest message. So we will bring useRef from React, and I'll call it scrollRef useRef. And now let's bring useEffect as well, and inside useEffect, so scrollRef dot current and then dot scroll into view, and this will take behavior smooth, and we will have to pass message as dependency so that this gets triggered on every new message. Now we will attach this scroll ref to this div. So ref scroll ref, and let's also add question mark after current so that we get scroll into view if scroll dot current exists. Now save it. So if we click on user, it is scrolled to the bottom, but let's fix its height because the latest message is going under this form. So here in chat on this div, let's add a class messages. Height calc 100 viewport height minus, let's say, 200 pixels. And also let's add bootstrap class overflow auto. Alright, so if we click on user again, it is scrolled to the bottom. So this new message appeared into the view, and because this scroll bar scroll to the bottom. In fact, let's change height. So let's try 220. Yeah, it's fine. And if I enter another message appeared into the view because scroll bar scroll to the bottom. I have created another user, and this user is also inquiring about the same product, which is this one. And also I have added a profile photo here, but here profile photo is not being displayed, and it's a placeholder icon, and this is because I made a mistake here in user component. Here user.photo URL. If you remember, user has three different objects: add, me, and other. So it should be user.other.photo URL. Now here is the profile photo, And also if I click on this user, the background for both users changed to gray, and that's because here in user, this is what I am comparing. User add title equals to chat add title, and in this case add title is same for both of the inquiries. So let's add another condition here. User dot other dot name equals to chat dot other dot name, and now it's fixed. And that's because one buyer can only initialize one chat for one product. Doesn't matter how many times buyer click on this. Where is it? Chat with seller. This chat with seller option. Only one chat instance will be created for a specific ad for one buyer. And lastly, in chat.js, in select user, here we are using snapshot real-time listener but didn't unsubscribe. So let's do that. Return unsub. Okay, so now I would like to show a circle here to display the online status of user. If you take a look at our user document, there is a field is online. We are setting it to true when user logs in and false when user logs out, but we are not doing anything with this field. So let's do that now. Here in user, uh, after this image, let's make it position relative. And here span, style, position absolute, width 10 pixels, height 10 pixels, top 0, left let's say 30, and border radius 50% to make it round. And then here class bg danger. Okay, so this is how it looks. Let's make it 35 and 40 top, actually top 45. Okay, so now we will change its color based on the online status. So here in chat.js, in this getList function, this will not work because it's getDoc and it will only run once. So we need a real-time listener here. So const unsub equals to on snapshot, and we will pass the same other ref because we are tracking the online status of the other user, and we will get doc. And now we need a state to track online status. So const online set online, and it will be an object. And the way it will work, It's something like user ID 1, true or false, online or offline. User ID 2, true or false. So set online, we will get previous value, and here we will spread previous value, and then doc dot data, and this has field UID. This one, and value will be doc dot data dot is online. Now we will have to unsubscribe to this real-time listener, but we can't simply call unsub because this snapshot is in for of loop. So let's create an array, unsubscribe, and for every iteration we will push this unsub to unsubscribe array. Unsubscribes dot push unsub. And now we will return a cleanup function, and here we will run for each on this unsubscribes array. We will get unsubscribe for every iteration. Then we will call it to unsubscribe. And now we need to pass the state online to our user component here. And in this user component we will receive it. And I would like to change this based on the online status. So online, and we need to pass the UID. So we will get UID from user.other.UID, and we have access to user as well. So if it's true, BG success for green color, otherwise BG danger. So currently both of these users are offline. Let's log in with this user. And now watch this. User logs in and it turned into green because we are using a snapshot listener. And if we log out, it goes red again. Now we will work on displaying last message here. So for this chat, this will be the last message and we will display it here. So this is how we will store it here, not inside chat. Because for every message we send, an ID gets created. However, for last message, it will always be one message, and we will replace the previous message with the latest. So it will be here. And we will do that in handle submit after this add doc function. So await, update doc, and we will import it from Firebase Firestore. It will take doc and then DB, collection name, and ID. We have access to ID, chat ID. And the fields will be last text, which will be the text message, this one, last sender, it will always be user1, and last unread. Initially it will be true, and we will set it to false when user click on chat. So if there is a new message here, then upon clicking this, it will be set to false. So we will do that in select user function. So const doc snap await get doc, doc, it will take DB, collection name, messages, and ID, which is this one. And here we will check if doc snap exists. Then we will check another condition. If last message sender not equals to currently logged in user. If I am sending the message, then last unread should only be updated when other user reads the message. So let's check if doc snap dot data dot last sender not equals to user1. And another condition, if it's not already read, so it should be true to make it false. So doc snap dot data dot last unread, if both conditions are satisfied, await update doc DB, collection name, ID, and we will update last unread to false, which was initially true. So now in user component, we will retrieve this information. So it will be a snapshot where we will be querying a document. So you can use effect here, but I will use the use snapshot hook we created earlier. What am I doing? Import use snapshot from, and it's in utils use snapshot. So here const use snapshot, and it needs collection name and document ID. So collection name, messages, and we will have to create document ID. Const ID equals to, we need user1, so let's also pass it from chat file. Here user1, user1, user1 is greater than user2. For user2, it will be from user.other.uid. So if that's the case, then user1 dot user2 dot, now we need add id. So user dot add id. Otherwise user2 user2.user1.addId. So second argument document ID, which is the ID, and it will return us val. So this val is doc.data. And what I would like to do, I would like to change the background if there is a new unread message. So here val question mark to make sure that it exists, and then we will grab last sender not equals to user1, and there will be another condition val dot last unread. If it's true, then we will display let's turn into bg info, otherwise null. So right now there is no unread message, so I'm logged in as test. Let's try to log in with different user. Message sent, and it's turned into bg info. And if you can take a look at our Firestore, there it is. Last sender, last message, last unread, and it's true for now. Now let's click on this. It's turned into gray, and because it's active now, so it's gray, and the bg info gone because last unread is now false. So now let's also display the last message here, and it will be after this h6. Let's add another br, then a small tag, and we will render it conditionally. So val dot last tag, if it exists, then we will check its length. Dot length is greater than, let's say we would like to display 30 characters, and then we will add ellipses. Is greater than 30, then val dot last text dot slice 0 to 30. Otherwise we will show the entire text. Let's remove this br. Okay, so it's now a little bit off. Let me remove this align item center. Alright, so we are now displaying last message if there is any. So we are now able to display last message and also change the background to indicate that there is a last message. However, user will only know about the new message if user visits this chat page. So let's display some sort of indicator here so that user know that there is a new message. So we will do that in context because we need it globally and we also need access to user. So let's check if user. We will create a reference to message collection. collection from Firebase Firestore. It will take DB from Firebase config and also collection name messages. Now we will write a query from Firebase Firestore and we will pass message ref, and we need a where clause here from Firebase Firestore, and condition will be users array contains user.uid. We would like to get only those chat where users array contain currently logged in user, and it will be an on snapshot. So const unsub on snapshot, and we will pass query and we will get query snapshot. So here let's create a local state, and now we will run for each on query snapshot. Let data equals to snap.data, and now we will check multiple statements. So first one, if this document has last text, if data, which is snap.data dot last text, then we will check sender not equals to currently logged in user. So data dot last sender not equals to user dot uid, and finally make sure message is still unread, data dot last unread. Now we will push to this local array local array unread dot push spread out data, which is this snap.data data, and I also like to add id, so snap.id. And now let's create another state here, const unread set unread use state an empty array, and here after this for each set unread, and we will pass this unread array, and then let's return a cleanup function where we will unsubscribe to snapshot listener, and we will pass this unread here. Now in navbar we are already using context here, so let's bring unread as well. And here bootstrap class position relative, and now we will check for the length of this unread array. If length is greater than 0, then it means there are unread messages. So unread dot length, let's try badge from bootstrap. This one. So here otherwise null, and it should be class name. Okay, right now there are no unread messages, so there is an unread message now, and let's fix it. Let's say top 10 and start maybe 90. Also P1. Yeah, it looks fine. So now user knows that there is a new message, so he can click on chat where he will find the new message. And if we read it, it's turned into gray because it's active and also read, and the indicator here is also gone.